viewers, Rectangular back, this time with another interview. Now previously you may have seen my interviews with Fabio Danino and Henry Beltran, both from the Southern California A.C.B.A. community. Was able to hang out with those guys down there earlier this summer of 2015, and I also got to meet my friend Michael Whisman for the first time in person. We've been friends on Facebook for years now, and we're both admins in the A.C.B.A. group. He's a great guy, excellent A.C.B.A. artist, does amazing cutouts, probably the best in the group, and also very good artist in general, does really nice dioramas and starting to get into more and more customs, so definitely go and check out his work. And with that, let's go ahead and get into the full-length interview. Alright, so here we are with Michael Whisman, King of Cutouts. Let's see, just have a few questions for you. Alright. One of the first question I have is, do you remember the first comic book or character that you got into that kind of spurred your art of or love of collecting either comics and or figures?
Okay, I don't know specifically, and I know this is a question, you know, a lot of people talk about, like, just with comic friends, and I'm always like, oh, I don't remember the first one, but I do know when 1993 or 4, McDonald's had the Amazing Spider-Man toys. I remember as a little kid, I got that, the Spider-Man, played with that nonstop, so I'm sure that probably started it. I don't remember my first comic book, but I remember the first comic book I bought for myself. It was at 7-Eleven, the gas station, and I guess they had comics back then, and I wanted Spawn, and my mom said no. Like, drawing the line at Spawn. So I bought Amazing Spider-Man. It was John Romita Jr. was on it, and it was a Craven was trying to get Spider-Man, and Venom was there. It was actually 2 issues I bought at the same time, and I don't really care for John Romita Jr. I know a lot of people, oh, I bought John Romita Jr. books as my first guy, and he's my favorite artist. No way, it's Mark Bagley all the way, or Bagley. I'm not really sure how to say the last name. But that's, I guess, where my lifelong thing started: comics, collecting, etc.
Okay, so you had already been into Spider-Man before you picked up.
Well, yeah, I guess. You know, born in the 90s, you know, big boom, you got the X-Men show, Spider-Man, Batman, Superman, everything. It was the animated series. X-Men, the animated series. You know, every superhero booming in the 90s, you know, you were exposed as a kid. That's why so many people, you know, fit a certain age group, is because 80s and 90s, they hit you hard, man. They pulled you in. He-Man, Turtles, Spider-Man. But you love it, you know. You never let it go.
Let's see. Can you name some of your... so I know who your favorite character is Spider-Man. Why is Spider-Man your favorite character?
Oh, man. This ain't about to be an hour-long video, so I'll try to keep it short. I mean, basically for the, you know, simple reasons that most people like him. You know, he's very relatable, he's funny, he has faults, he has flaws. You know, he's cool, his powers are cool. It's all that basic stuff, but really, just throughout my life, it's taken on much deeper personal meanings. So I hold the character very near and dear to me, and whenever I'm really talking in depth with somebody about it, I really get heated and emotional, whether it's a good or bad, because I really take it personally. Just as an example, when they were doing, right after Brand New Day, I don't remember what the story arc was called, but it was around the time when Mary Jane and Peter were separate, and Peter started dating this girl Carly in the comics. Minor thing, nobody gives a expletive, and it hit me. It was like personal to me. I had like a subscription at the time as well. You know, I get the comics and I see him making out with Carly. I see Mary Jane throwing shade at him, and it was weird, but it hit me personal. I even, back years ago before she was my wife, my wife and I were on a walk together. I even brought it up, and she's like, "Who gives a crap?" You know, she didn't know at the time, but I was like, "How can she be doing this, and why isn't she happy for him?" So, you know, it's the same reasons, I guess. It's just, it means a lot more to me, and I could go on forever about it. But, You know, Spider-Man's great. He's, you know, Superman is so popular because he's had time. You know, Spider-Man I think is probably the next most popular behind Superman and Batman, just overall with everybody. And it's for, you know, all those great reasons.
Okay. So how did you discover A.C.B.A. and what made you want to participate in the group?
Okay, this is another one I get a lot. And, again, I don't remember, because I don't think to remember these things when I'm doing them, you know? But, I know I did watch a lot of videos before I even went to Facebook. I watched Shartimus Prime reviews. I watched Craig Warwick's old videos before he started doing his newer stuff, like the vlogs. He did, he used to do video reviews when he would do a new custom. I saw a couple of Rektangular's videos on YouTube, you know, back in the day. And it just this, you know, I just kind of, I guess, was drawn into it through different websites a little bit, you know, watching videos, going through blogs. Craig Warwick had a blog, I think it's still up. And it all ties back to, you know, growing up collecting. I remember getting Marvel Legends and Spider-Man Classics when they very first came out, but I dropped off. You know, you become a teenager, you have different priorities, hormones everywhere, and then, you know, you come back as a level-headed adult, more or less, and you want to reclaim that passion, and this was a way for me to get into that. But once I got the figures, once I joined the group, I posted a horrible shot, people tore me apart, and I took it and I said, you know what, let's see what these guys are about. Going through the fan page, you know, watching some of Boog's videos. I didn't discover Boog's videos until after, you know, I kind of learned about A.C.B.A. And I know him, and he had a community going on that led to A.C.B.A. beforehand, and it took on a whole different meaning. It wasn't just about, I like superheroes, or I like playing with toys, or I want to reclaim my childhood. That was the personal stuff, but it became something cool. It became something tangible and approachable. You know, you can go to a store, buy a figure, take it home, and do really cool things with it. It's not just a toy that you know, you do this and they're doing something. You actually have to physically do it to make it happen. And you can show people, you can talk to people. And now, years later, that little, you know, inkling that kept me in the group has blown up, and here I am, you know, kicking it with some of the coolest guys around. We're hitting up stores, we're talking about figures, we're eating food, we're doing everything. It's not just about the toys, you know. I'm not a toy collector. I know a lot of guys like, I'm a toy collector, I like toys, I review anything in the entire world. I'm not a kid. I don't buy toys. I don't go buy, you know, the little $5 things that are like this, and, you know, kids hit them. It's not what it's for, you know. I get the good stuff, the things I like, you know. There's a reason they make it for, like, teenagers and adult collectors. It requires a certain amount of skill, and I think A.C.B.A. is a perfect medium to hone that skill and to take it to the next level. And I mean next level. I don't mean, you know, what's on the back of a box or what they're showing at Comic-Con where the figures are hot glued to the space. Like, these companies are turning around and they're looking at, you know, people in these groups to see what to do. What figures do they want? How should we make them? What kind of articulation do we focus on? Diamond Select, you know. Hey, we can only add so much articulation. You guys who are posing it, what do you want? Ankle rockers? Boom. Carnage, Ultron, they got ankle rockers now. Ankle pivot, you know, whatever people call them. And it's become its own monster. It has its own nature now, and I just kind of, now I'm in it, you know, for me, for the friends, for everything, and I'm in it full force, but I'm also looking at it to see where it goes. You know, it's a community. Not one person is going to drive this. It's everybody. A.C.B.A., people push each other. Dial Structure, people push each other, you know. Henry Beltran may not have made this badass warehouse diorama had he not seen Al Figures attempt a warehouse here. Someone sees Henry, then you got, you know, the next person, they got a warehouse, etc. And it's, so not one person is going to say, you know, I'm going to lead the way and everybody follow me. And I think that's great, and I love, you know, that the group is just that, it's a community. Everybody drives it together. And that's what keeps me in the group. And I know that was way too much, I'm sorry.
Alright. Alright, which figures are you most excited to get that have already been announced on any product line?
Oh, okay. So, like, they haven't come out yet, but they were announced.
Exactly, they're supposed to be
Okay.
being made.
This is a multifaceted answer here. Basically, I'm excited for a little bit of everything. I don't spread myself too thin. I know a lot of guys go for NECA, Diamond. They go everything. They go ham in the Terminator and all that stuff. I'm pretty focused on Marvel Legends and some stuff. I'm getting into the Dragon Ball, etc. So my point is, I'm a little bit excited for certain figures of each line, like the Mezco Dread. I'm really excited. My only worry is that material they'll use, like the leather kind of material, over time will fall apart, like old Marvel Legends jackets and stuff kind of crunch away. That's my only worry, but I know the figure will be solid. SH Figuarts, they're re-releasing all the super hard to get ones for dirt cheap, like $30. So, really excited for those. Marvel Legends got everything coming out. I mean, lately I've been good about getting the waves, so I would say now I'm more excited for like waves at a time. Whereas in the past, when I would have to pick and choose, I would be more inclined for a certain figure. Like right now,
well, that's specifically what I'm asking. What specific figures are you most excited for?
I'm most excited for Mezco Dread, SH Figuarts, Trunks re-release, Marvel Legends Bulldozer, just to complete the team. Now without like having pre-existing stuff, a new kind of figure I'm excited for is actually the Marvel Legends Ant-Man. I know it has kind of the basic Marvel Legends articulation they're going for now, but it looks like it'll be fun to mess around with. Like I could see the movie and come home and just one of those fun factor figures where you just always are picking it up and doing something with it. So those I would say are my most anticipated figures.
Now, since you're a huge Spider-Man fan, assuming that the latest information about the third and fourth waves of Spider-Man figures actually comes true, I know you're probably psyched for the Spider-Verse, the Gwen and Silk.
Right. If those are true, Spider-Verse was cool. It was more cool for the art. I think the story was overhyped, but I knew we had to be getting a Venom sometime, because they had the mold, they had, the toxin, the anti-venom, and how they retooled the face and the feet. I knew it was gonna get a Venom eventually, so I believe that's coming. Spider-Gwen is hugely popular right now in the comic community. Huge. Every book she's been in has had like at least 5 covers sell out. So she has to be coming no matter what. Silk would actually be really nice. I feel like they could almost even just modify that Psylocke head they did and just kind of cover it and tweak it a little. So she'd be cool. I'm excited for them, but I've kind of learned to wait and see what's really coming. And to be honest, you gotta keep up with the rektangular videos to know, because there is hearsay every other day, and you don't know until Todd gets down in the dirt for you, and he's like, here's the numbers, here's when it's coming out, and so I'm like, cool. Like when I get the UPC for Venom, I'll be hyped. Until then, I'll say, yeah, that sounds feasible. But you never know. They do the switcheroo all the time.
Well, yeah, lately we've been lucky.
True.
Let's see. So, if you had your fantasy of any figure that could be made, like of any character by any company, toy company, who would it be and who would make it?
So this is like, I have to say something that hasn't been made yet, or can I say one that has been made?
It could be redone and by a different company or in a different style, different costume or whatever.
All right. Well, I was actually really happy to get the Scud figure, Scud Disposable Assassin, by the late Shocker Toys. I never would have thought any Scud merchandise would have been made ever again. They only did, little stuff, only figure of him. I love it, it's great, but if something moving forward, a figure, or a character, to get a figure that hasn't been made and what company, that's a very hard one. And I honestly have not thought too much about it, but just top of my head, I would actually really like a Mysterio. Either made by, I guess Hasbro, a solid Marvel Legends Mysterio.
But they announced wasn't that part of the 13 that are coming in waves 3 and 4?
I don't know, I glanced at the list.
I think Mysterio was on there.
If not them, I know it never happened, but a Mezco Mysterio in the 1/12 scale thing would be cool, like the meshing.
Oh, with cloth, yeah.
Yeah, a nice, cool cape. maybe interchangeable heads, or even like an effect if they could have something going on in the ball.
Lights.
Hands, effects. Like, I think they could just go crazy with it. Like, after seeing the Batman, they could, put so much. Never gonna happen, but,
It's your fantasy.
Mysterio, yeah.
That'd be cool. Let's see, what do you think? What do you think separates A.C.B.A. from other toy photography groups? I think you might have touched on some of that already.
I think I nailed it down. It all boils down to constructive criticism and the drive. The will to push yourself to do more, to do something, to not just
take it to another level.
Yeah, not just play with toys on the table, but to be open, saying, hey, I did this, but what could be better? And, actually accepting that. I think that's what makes it different. Because there are so many groups nowadays that are just catering to, I took a picture of my toys, do you like it, yes or no? And what makes it different is A.C.B.A. is, I took a picture of my figures doing something specific, what can be better about it?
Yeah.
And that's the only way you're gonna get ahead,
And also, there are so many groups that copy what we do and don't give us credit for being the pioneers of those particular forms. Let's see, what common mistakes do you see new A.C.B.A. artists make that bother you the most, or do you think could be eliminated?
I don't know how much could be eliminated per se, but a couple common mistakes, and I made them too, is number one, everyone, whether they say it or not, knows this one, is the running thing, where people, they put the arm and the leg forward, and then they'll even debate, it's everybody, the very first time, they'll debate it, no, well, and then you say, well, go do it, it's the alternating. That's a common one. I don't know, you can't prevent that from happening. It's just they gotta, get the rhythm in their head about it. And the other thing, which I was so guilty of, was taking like foam or paper, and where you have the curved paper, and it's supposed to be like a good background. It's great if you do it well. It's bad the way that I did it, and a lot of new people do it, where your lighting is horrible. You don't even have lighting. You're in your bedroom with your light on. You got the paper here. It's all crappy paper. The shadow. There's obviously a background. It doesn't look like just white or, whatever color. And you know what it is. It's just this figure on this crappy piece of paper you put there. And I did that so much until Bob the Odd, AJ Frost, and Al Figures showed me, like, hey, you can, make stuff out of foam. That was a game changer like no other. Because that paper was just no bueno. Nowadays, I use the paper as a background. Like, I'll put something here, and the paper's way back here, oftentimes behind it, like on a desk, and that way there's no shadow, nothing, because I know that just ruins it. And I see it a lot, and I guess the only way to prevent it would be, someone's got to tell them, like, hey, that doesn't look great, and then offer an alternative. Because if you just tell someone, hey, that paper's lame, it's like, okay, thanks for the gut shot, what can I do? Okay, go check out valve structure, or put the paper, get two pieces of paper, have them standing on one and have one here, or go all out like Shardamus Prime or Glenn Webb or Craig Warwick, where they have like a full sheet, they got I think I just saw in Shardamus' video, he's got a sheet like on the ceiling whooshing, and when you take the picture, it sells it, but your piece of paper right here ain't gonna do it.
Yeah, that's a very common mistake, is taking pictures too close to your background. Shadows on the background is one of my biggest pet peeves. Let's see, when did you first start getting serious about collecting?
When I joined the A.C.B.A. group, because I was getting back into collecting, and it was actually seeing what people could do with characters I didn't care about that drove me to want to explore more things. Like, I would see Boog have, Hydra soldiers doing certain things that I hadn't seen before. And I knew about Hydra, but I didn't really care. And then seeing this was like, I don't know, certain artists had a way of breathing life into certain characters. And from that point on, as a collector, I don't really refer to myself as a collector because I'm not a completist. I don't, do that. But it made me want to pursue characters I normally wouldn't care about. So, like, Claw would come out. Not a great figure. Not a lot of people care. But I knew, like, hey, people are going to make this figure cool. I'm going to get it. And then I could, now for me at my own home, I have, Claw with my AIM agents, doing something. Claw fighting Black Panther. And I thought it was so cool how certain people could breathe life into these characters you really don't care about and make you want it. And that's why certain people are, like, really great at certain things. Like, I know Pharaoh Black gets a lot of hate from people, but you know what he's great at? He takes a figure you were on the fence about, I don't know if I want to buy that, puts out a shot, psh, Big Bad Toy Store credit through the roof. Like, people love it because they can see almost a potential of what they could do. And I'm not saying, him or anyone else is setting the bar or anything. Like, that's not the best you could do with that figure. It just shows you a potential so you have a better idea, like, what do I want to do with it? And that's when I really started going for these figures. Like, instead of saying this upcoming Ant-Man wave, I just want Ant-Man. Or, I'll just get Bulldozer. I want everybody. Grim Reaper would be great. We already have Constrictor, Madam Hydra. We got, not goons, Hydra soldiers. Grim Reaper, bam, right in there. Like, everybody is, I'm already thinking of what can I do to make that cool? How can this kind of man character be added to something to make it even better? And so as a collection, that's kind of my thought process. Not so much, I have to have this figure just to have it, I understand that totally. I know people like that, and they like to buy the figures, or certain ones you want mint on card, like as a collection piece. But for my main collection, I'm trying to think of what I can add to make it more interesting.
Sure. Okay, let's see. As far as Marvel Legends go, what is your favorite Build-A-Figure? And because I know you're not really that much into DC, so you're probably not worried about direct. What is it called? Collecting Connect. Yeah.
If I could have any DC Collecting Connect, it'd probably be Bane. I don't have him, but he's cool. My favorite Marvel Legends Build-A-Figure. Dang, that's hard. Honestly, because sometimes I forget which ones are Build-A-Figures, because, you build it, and after so much time, it's just assimilated. Like Arnim Zola, sometimes I forget, oh, that was a Build-A-Figure.
Yeah.
Dang, that is a hard one.
Or, like, Rocket Raccoon. Like,
right, and
forget it's a BAF.
And they get re-released as regular figures.
Yeah,
anyway.
Exactly.
You know what? I'm going to answer this a little different. Not my favorite Build-A-Figure as, like, a figure, but I'll say as my favorite Build-A-Figure memory of building it was actually my Arnim Zolas, because it was one of the first Build-A-Figures that I really completed, and I had everybody helping. I had Bob the Odd send me Madam Hydra, well, I bought it off of him, but Madam Hydra and the chest. I had AJ send me a chest and a leg. I had a couple arms and legs from whatever. I had a head from Wrecking Crew, but I got a head from someone else. Like, everybody came together to help me, and it was really cool. And my friend Deontay, who's my best man, he went with me one night. It was like 1 a.m, and he's like, "Oh, you're missing these pieces?" I was like, "Yeah, but I don't want the figures." And he's like, "I'll buy the figures, whatever." We go to Walmart. He buys all the figures I need, gives me the pieces, and he has the figures. And he's not really into this. I mean, he has figures at home, but doesn't do anything with them. And he did it just to help me build these figures. And I just think that's awesome. And I always have Arnim Zola in my displays at home doing something. And, I try to take A.C.B.A. pictures of him doing things because the character is not really A-list to me, but that figure is a prime example of my friends and my community coming together to help me. Mm-hmm. And that was really nice. And I don't ever want to forget the goodwill that people sent my way. So that's, I guess, one of my favorite ones.
Cool. Let's see. Speaking of Build-A-Figures, what Build-A-Figure would you like to see made that hasn't been made yet?
God, hit me with the hard question. I'm supposed to answer fast. Oh, man.
Take your time. That's what editing's for.
Build-A-Figure to be made. It has to be practical, otherwise I'll never do it. Maybe like, dang.
Yeah, they're not gonna make a celestial.
Right. All the Celestials? Well, we got Odin. Well, they kind of cheated us on Odin. We got a King Thor with an Odin head. You know what? I'll just say the first thing that came to my mind again. Surtur would be cool.
Yes.
Because that way, the Surtur's whatever. I mean, he'd be badass if they made a big one. I would actually be more excited if they announced the Surtur wave, because, like, what are we getting? We get Enchantress, you know, the Heroes 3,
Executioner.
You know, Executioner, a new Beta Ray Bill.
Yeah.
No Comic-Con exclusive. I want Beta Ray Bill retail, regular, gold paint. But I would say that'd be pretty cool because not just the figure, you know, what comes with it would be a good thing.
Yeah, that would be awesome. I think that's what I said.
I said Volstagg as the build figure, but still Thor wave.
I'm shooting higher. Get Volstagg.
Well, he said Surtur, and I thought it was a good idea too. But like a Thor wave for sure with like one of the big
or big destroyer.
They fit that Hulk into that package. They could get Volstagg in there.
That's true. Yeah. I think a good Surtur is that like NECA Balrog from like 2003 or something.
I've seen people use Pit for Surtur, and that looks really good.
Yeah.
Let's see. What was the most disappointing figure or figure experience that you ever had? Either buying a figure or a deal that went bad or breaking a figure that broke on you.
I'm going to say the breaking.
Or you bought one and it was not what you expected it to be at all.
Well, okay, a combination then. The breaking and the buying. Because I hate when you get a new figure and it breaks right away for like seemingly no reason. I mean, assumably the defect or whatever, but especially if it's something that was like not necessarily easy to get. Like, I have so many examples because the more figures you buy, the more you run into this. Madam Hydra, the one I was just talking about, got it sent to me, brand new. I open it, messing with it, and the arm just completely twists off. I had the figure for less than a minute, and it is useless.
Yep.
And I'm like, wow. And it's one of those things where in life, where like, it's something so small, but you know you can't take it back. You know, you can't rewind time, and it feels so insignificant. Like, you feel like you can almost will it to fix, but you know that it's definite. This just happened, and I hate that. And I've been fortunate enough to be able to do something like that. Broke right away. I was like, Billy, the post office is open. Can we fix this? You have the technology. And so I was actually literally did. I picked it up from the post office, broke it, went back to the post office, mailed it to Billy, and he made it brand new. Never broke it again. Or this Spider-Girl figure, I've had 2 now break. And I was able to fix one, but the other one, the arm's just completely done. And my newest one, which is my one I will probably never touch anymore, already feels like it's gonna, snap. Or actually, I told you that one time about the Batman. I was like, I don't have a Batman. I'll give DC a shot. I bought the Batman 3-pack. The legs just completely fell apart. Factory defects. They had like rocks in the plastic or something. $50. I didn't open it at the store. You go home. You drive home. You deal with traffic. You cuss at the light. You stop for lunch. You get home. This is not something that happens right away and like, oh, I'll fix it. No, you have to contemplate, am I going back? Am I going to return this? And that's, I guess, what I hate the most, is that moment where you're sitting there like, everything be okay. And then it doesn't happen, and you're like, I forgot, this is real. What am I going to do?
I forgot this is real.
So, that's the worst, I would say, because that's applicable to anything,
Let's see. Do you think you would buy as many figures as you currently do if it weren't for A.C.B.A?
Absolutely not. 100% no. I would maybe buy certain characters I really like. Like, oh, I have a Spider-Man. Oh, I have a Scarlet Spider coming out. Just to kind of have on your stuff. Like, out in display. You wouldn't store it the same way. I wouldn't, have so many that I would need to baggie and put them away. You know, yeah, you just have it sitting here. Like if this was my TV, you know, boom. But no, because there would be no drive for me. Because like I said, I'm not exactly a toy collector. I love the figures. I've tried customs. I've done things. You know, I'm not neglecting the fact that I like the figures at all. I fully accept that. But I think in a previous question how I addressed certain characters, like I would have never gotten Claw if I hadn't seen people do things with him. You know, I think it was Boog did something and AJ did something where they just had their claw like this, but they had the boxes like everything being blown away. And I was like, dang, that's tight. I'm gonna get a Claw. And so that is like a small part, but even that, like, I mean, if you had no one to share this with, if you were the last person on Earth, nuclear decimation, and you found a pile of Marvel Legends, are you just gonna sit there with the rest of your existence? I mean, you probably got a garden and get food. That's besides the point. Like, you know, if you're the only human on Earth, you could probably actually, you know, set up a little city display with your figures, but that's not what you're gonna do all the time. You know, it's so much better when you have people to share it with, your friends, you know? And that's what's great about the community, again, is because it's a platform. You know, this isn't weird. You know, not everybody's a nerd, a geek. Some people try to take that term and actually use it to appeal to people, like the masses who aren't like that. Like, oh, I'm such a nerd, haha, because people who aren't into this will, you know, they'll recognize that and watch it as well, so they're appealing to both crowds. I don't ever think like that. You know, I don't see someone inherently, like, buying Marvel Legends, you know. I don't see my boy Fabio scooping up all these wrestling figures like, oh my god, what a wrestling nerd, what a smart. You know, I don't think that. I think, damn, that dude loves wrestling. I got a wrestling question, let me ask him, you know. When I see a nerd or a geek or whatever, you know, you could have 20 dudes in a comic book store, but that one weird nerd guy, the 19 other people, they're going to be looking at him too. You know, just because you're in that store, you got an armful of comics, you got your Legends, you know, but that weird dude's over there, you know, licking the box like, Spider-Man. You know when you see it. So, what was the question?
Buying how many figures you would buy if it wasn't for A.C.B.A.
Right. Not as many, basically.
Yeah.
I'd probably buy some. I never got rid of my old ones I had, so I'd probably keep them.
Yeah, I would probably just buy my favorite characters and...
Exactly.
Because, like, why... like
no army build.
There's absolutely no need to army build without A.C.B.A.
Exactly. I'd be so rich.
All right, well, thanks for sitting down with me.
That's crispy.